Good day. This is G-Man at Just Bugging. Today, as you can see, got a 69 Beetle. It's got some issues with the front suspension. It's all over the road. Probably got about 4 inches of play in the steering. The steering gearbox has been adjusted all the way out, so it either has to be rebuilt or replaced, in which I'm going to replace. We're going to cover several areas because I'm going to replace multiple parts in the front suspension. As you can see, I don't have any concrete here yet, and I've put down a piece of plywood. And we are level. It'll be fine with this. What I'm going to show today is how I'm going to, when I replace all these parts, I'm going to use, this is what I learned to use in the military. It's real simple. You set this gauge, you can adjust this to what application you have. I think it gets up to like 60 inches. And put this in between the tires, and it will, it goes in and out like this. Then you get these chains. You put these on the tires, and the chains will hang down, and you make sure the chain touches, the surface of the ground. Concrete, whatever, plywood. And you zero this to that point. And then you're going to set this on the front of the tires, like so. Right there. And then you're going to have your chains touch. And then you're going to zero that. And then you're going to roll the car forwards, and this is going to go to the back of the tires until the chains just barely touch. Then you get your reading here, and you roll it to the rear again, and this is going to come back to the front, and then you're going to get the reading of what your toe in and toe out is, and you adjust to your tie rod ends accordingly. Of course, that is one of the parts I'm going to replace today, is the tie rod ends and several other things. Okay, here we've got our gearbox. We're going to replace that. I'm going to go ahead and replace the wheel bearings and the seals. And then here's all of our tie rod ends. And then, of course, the steering dampener. I'm sure that's going to have some wear on it and be nothing. Now, we're going to also do ball joints. And as you can see, they are already installed in trailing arms. I was going to buy them separately, and then I found out that the only place that sells them with the ball joints already installed is SoCal, as far as I know. I may be wrong, but I didn't see them anywhere else when I googled them. So it saves you a lot of labor, but you get a core charge. It's $35 for each. It's about $40 to ship it here for them, so I assume it's going to be about $40 for me to ship it back to get my $140 back. But, the labor that it's going to save time with, and then I don't have to beat on them. Yes, I know you can press them out, but then I might have to go out and buy a special tool. And why, when I can just get my trailing arms with the ball joints already installed, makes it much easier. Of course, they are remanned. So that's the way to do it, in my opinion. And I got some standard hempy shocks here. Gonna replace those also. Alright, got the car set up on the plywood. As you can see, we are level. Level's right in the center, if you can see that. And I've got my tool, my alignment tool. I call it the extendable alignment tool. Looks like a shower curtain rod. As you can see, my chains are barely touching. And I have this zeroed right there on the notch. Bear with me, there's only one me here today, so there's no one to help me, and so I'll be moving this forward and backwards. I'm trying to get a reading right now. As you can see, there's a groove in the tire. They're matching set of tires, so I know I'm at the same place on both of them. So I'm gonna roll the car forward and see what we have there. I want to get all this to see what it is before I mess with it. Alright, I put this on and I had it zeroed in the front, and I went to the back and it was over here, toe in a half, towed in on the rear side. So I zeroed it on there. I'm tired of moving the car back and forth by myself. You can just do it like measure and take, pull it off the back with the chains hanging. You know, I ended up with it, when I rolled it forward, I had a 1/2 inch towed in on the back sides of the tires. So I zeroed it over there, pulled it back up front by my, manually. And of course, yes, it's towed out in the front. No wonder your car drives like crap. But we're going to see where all this play is. Is it just out of alignment? But I would imagine I'm going to find the failures in the tie rod ends, most likely, or the ball joints. So let's get started. All right. Well, one thing I thought about, I am doing the gearbox, and I'd rather work on removing the fuel tank. Ooh, pretty new fuel tank. As you can see, it desperately needs some interior work, but that's next after I do a fabulous job on the front suspension. Thank you very much. All right, let's get a move on here. I'll just release both of these. I think I will hook up a pump and drain the fuel out of this tank. Seems like it's got a lot in it. Or at least somebody has on the back. The vapor line's hooked up. Alright, I got the fuel tank sucked out, disconnected. I've still got to get under and get the fuel delivery line disconnected. While I was looking at it, and, of course I jacked it up and everything. I haven't taken off tires yet. But you can see, you can hear it, excessive play in the wheel bearings. I mean, I'm replacing them anyways, just so we didn't have to wait on parts or something if I ran into them. I mean, it's not that expensive. You should do it while you're there. There's absolutely no resistance. I don't think the damper's doing a damn thing at all. Alright, we have excessive play in the bearings. I can see some in the tie rod ends also. Alright, we got the fuel pump out. I'm looking down here, and this tie rod ends do feel got a lot of play in it, but I won't know until I get it off. Tie rod and the coupler there. Boy, this thing's got a lot of slop in it. Gotta get these two bolts off here, but I gotta take this Pitman arm off first, because then you can't access that other bolt. Get the gearbox off first and put that back in here before I go on with the tie rod ends. And I failed to get a coupler, a rag joint, so. Just give me an idea in case I wish I would have scribed it right here, just to tell exactly where the Pitman arm went. This is the first time I've ever had to take one off, so I hate it when you wish you would have scribed something but you didn't. Might be a little generic there, but it'll work. Alright, I got the Pitman arm off. Gonna have to get this gearbox out now. Before I disconnect this, I'm gonna count how many turns. This is all the way to the left. So, right, I got the metal tabs bent back on the bolts holding the steering gearbox. There we go. Oh, looky there. Alright, we'll be back. gearbox. I'm replacing these whole trailing arms anyway, so I'm gonna have to take the other side off also. I'm just gonna buy new bushings. I was reading up on the gearbox first, and I see up north they put oil in these, but most people are saying that they pack them with grease. And then I looked on the old one, and of course, like everyone else says, is these plugs will just cave in, and it's on it for factory, and it pushes in. But I can see that it's full of grease, so I'm going to pack mine with grease. And apparently that's what everybody's doing. And I'm in Florida, so I'd much rather have bearing grease in it. Alright, I finally got this pesky little rag joint, you know, 2-bolt hole bracket, whatever you want to call it. Finally got it off of this. I had to heat it up and everything, get it off. Yep, that was it. Let's get this bad boy down in here. Perfect. All right. Alright, I ran into some issues. I had to go do something and get some parts off another vehicle, and I got a little further on this. Battery died on the GoPro. As you can see, I got the trailing arms out. This is the old ones, and here's the pin, if you want to call it, threaded pin with a lock nut on it. And takes an 8mm Allen. You just pull it out and slide it out. It'll only go back in one way. I cleaned the seal behind it. It was still good and pliable. And as you can see, these ball joints were just shot. And one of these set screws, it had been mushroomed. Something hit it or bumped it or whatever, and it mushroomed, and it was loose. Both of these were slightly loose on this side. I didn't even have to put any effort in it, so that's not a good thing. 1/2 inch out on the front in the alignment. The right side tie rod end tube is bent, and my rag joint. We did get the steering gearbox replaced. It's definitely bad. I did find some rust down in here. The owner's going to come by and see if I'm going to show him what it needs, and cut that out and weld that in there, I'm sure. So I'm going to be waiting on some parts, and of course when I get this back together, then I'll do the wheel bearings, and of course it'll have the new shocks on it. So I'm going to go ahead and see how difficult it is to slap these spindles back on here. And put the spindle back in the top ball first, then get yourself lined up. You can almost get it to where it's pointed to the hole, and jack it up, and it pops right back in there. That wasn't too bad. Alright, I got one side on, and these were in this spot, and I scribed it right there. Like I said, I'm going to have him take it somewhere and get it aligned. I'm going to get as close as possible. There we go. Showing yet, it'll be in my way when I do tie rod ends. And like I said, I got to order a new one. We have a bent one. Alright, that's it for today. Until next time, or part 2, because we're going to be waiting on parts. This is Old Man G-Man here, signing out.